'cause you're powerful when your name is called.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Reclaiming My Life. Look, y'all, I'm truly, truly excited today. I have a special episode for you all today. My guest is a mother, author, motivator, and domestic violence advocate. Please meet Miss Decembre Pierce. All right.
I'm beautiful. Hey, how are you?
I am doing wonderful.
Good.
Today.
I cannot complain. God woke me up, so I'm good.
He's good all the time.
What they say, all the time? All the time.
All the time. Look, today, this is truly, truly
Yeah.
special. Y'all, we're going to get through this episode. It's a very emotional episode, but we're going to start off and we're going to celebrate you, December, and take them on a journey of your life, okay?
Okay.
So, look, I want to start with you founding Love Center. It's a youth ministry center.
Correct.
So, I know that you love young people. So, what inspired you to start that center?
Well, at the time when I started the center, I was living in Durham, North Carolina, and I was a paralegal. I was in school obtaining my master's degree in criminal law. And being a paralegal, I saw a lot of youth go through the system. I saw them, whether they were foster kids, whether they just had no outlet and got into trouble. I remember one time it was snowing. I believe it was during that time when we had that really bad snowstorm. Atlanta got shut down and it just hit the whole East Coast. There was a bunch of kids that got arrested for literally walking across the shopping center that was across from where I used to reside at. And just hanging out, doing something stupid. But it was because they had nowhere to go. They had nothing to do. They didn't break any building windows. They didn't do anything else. And so, like I said, at the time I was a paralegal. And that made me say, we got to do something for these kids.
Mhm.
And hence, I opened up the Love Center. The Love Center stood for loving others while valuing each other. So we value ourselves, but we have to love other people in the process of doing it. So, and it was very successful for a long time. I had a lot of mentors. We went out to the schools. We talked to the kids. I had a lot of foster kids that came through my center for after school programs, which I ended up taking in 2 of them.
Come on now.
And one was at the time he was actually 17. The other one was 15. And they're my babies now. They're in their 30s.
Wow, that's amazing.
They're my babies.
Yes, that's amazing. That truly says, that you have a good heart, you have a love for people in general.
Yeah.
This is reclaiming my life. So, seeing the youth come through that center, and like you said, some were at risk youth, trouble kids who just didn't have anywhere to go. Do you see a difference that you made having them come to that center and you can say, wow, they truly have a reclaiming my life testimony?
Oh, yes. One of the young ladies actually just had a baby the other day. She posted on Facebook. She reached out to me, Ariel. Love her to death. A lot of the kids, Mosaic, all of them, and I remember them from when they were little kids. Brittany, all of them coming to my center. We have thousands of pictures. And they will reach out to me on Facebook now. Miss D, let me tell you what happened today. And it's so amazing watching them and watching how they have grown up, how they made their life choices. And they always reflect back to, I remember calling you mama, even the young lady that I ended up taking in, Betty. Betty used to come, she was a foster child, and she used to come to my center all the time after school and would say, "You're going to be my mama one day." And she started calling me Mama D. And I said, "Girl, I'm not your mama." She was hard-headed, very hard-headed. And I said, "I'm not your mama." No, ma'am. And it was so funny because, she ended up one weekend staying with me when her foster parents were out of town. Social services called me, asked me, can I keep her? And from there, she was mine.
She was yours.
She was.
No, I love that because, when, excuse me, when we talk about foster care, of course, I did fostering. I'm gonna say for a short time because then it ended up being adoption. So, I was just talking with my daughters as we were traveling here. Because in a few weeks they too gonna be on the show and talk about yes, to inspire, youth about, just giving them hope that, because a lot of times when you're going into foster care, you're scared and things like that. So we were just saying, a lot of times our youth, they just need someone to embrace them,
Right.
to show love, to have patience with them, for them to be successful adults. And you did just that.
I am a licensed foster mom here in Georgia as well. And I've taken in 4 or 5, 6 kids. And two of them were siblings. I hid them for 2 years. And then I took in a set of 4 siblings.
Wow.
So yes, I'm a foster mom.
Thank you. You are an amazing woman. And saying you are an amazing woman, you received many awards when you were in North Carolina. You know that. I know you received Queen of the City.
Yeah.
Come on. Woman of the Year.
Yes. The Durham Grit Award, yes, for being a community leader, yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, when people say you're amazing, it's not just saying it. The city recognized you as an amazing leader.
I had a conversation actually on the way here to the studio with my cousin. And she asked me, you don't ever want to go on vacation? Like, you nonstop work, you're nonstop doing things. Why are you doing this? That was her exact words. Why do you do what you do?
Right.
And I told her, yes, for me, vacationing is sleeping in till 10 o'clock. That is a vacation. I don't care what nobody. That is a vacation for me, to sleep to 10. However, for me, the things I do, the center, the businesses, the working with the National Center for Missing Kids, everything I do it so that I can give back.
Yes.
I love giving back. Long as my bills are paid and I have a good car to drive, I am okay with that. I want to be able to, if I have a family member who have a car breakdown, I was telling her that they don't have to wonder how they going to get around and take an Uber and borrowing rides. And I want to be able to say, take your car to Firestone. If I see somebody whose child got murdered and they're doing a GoFundMe, I can call them and say, take the GoFundMe down. Let me pay for your funeral. Let me help you out. That is my goal for doing stuff. People want these huge houses, bless your soul, have what you want. They want these huge houses, Maseratis, and it frustrates me because it's so many people who genuinely are working. I know you saw the movie, what was it that just came out with Taraji?
Straw.
Yeah, Straw. As it hit home, I cried so much. I know a lot of people say, oh, Tyler Perry make the same movies. But it hit home for me because for me, I saw the working mom.
Yes.
I've been there. I've been there with the evictions. I've been there with the cars being repossessed. I've been there where it seemed like everything all day has just hit rock bottom. My goal is to do it so I can help people. I see someone like that, I can bless someone.
Yes.
That's why I do that.
That's why you're so blessed. A lot of times, thank you for that as well, because, I tell people all the time, my favorite Bible verse is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave.
The biggest sacrifice.
Yes, the biggest sacrifice, and then we don't want to sacrifice at all.
Nothing.
We don't want to sacrifice for people.
Nothing.
So thank you for that because, I sacrifice, just like you. And a lot of times, my children would say, Mama, why are you always doing and give it? Nobody else is pouring into you or doing things for you or giving you anything. And I say, he is. That's why I'm so blessed.
Correct.
I'm a blessed woman and you are a blessed woman.
Growing up, I watched my mom take in everybody. Everybody and their kids and their grandparents and college kids. And I watched her do that. You could walk in my mom's house and she see this plant and you see this plant and go, oh, I like that, Miss Smiley. Let me get it. And my mom would say, take it. You can take it home. And she could have just brought it.
Yep.
She was a giver. Long as she had her bills paid. And then when my mom got cancer, I took over my mom's bills and she would take her money and give it to the church. And I would get frustrated. And she was like, but I'm blessing.
Yes.
I'm blessing others. You blessed me. I'm blessing others. And it wasn't until I think I got a little older and I saw that. And I have so many qualities of my mom, and which is a blessing in the, disguise. My mom was a pastor, and it's, I look back now, I used to go to her with problems and situations, and she would quote me a scripture. And I used to be like, I don't need Pastor Molly. I need my mother. And she'd say, but your mother is a pastor, and God lives in your mother. So you're going to get what you got.
Yes.
And, I look at it now and it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And her giving was a blessing.
Yeah.
Her reclaiming her own life.
Come on.
When she had cancer, we used to say, Mama, fight it, fight it. But I'm okay with dying. I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going. God bless me all these just 70 plus years on earth. I'm good.
Wow.
So yes, I understand.
Yes. So the morals and the values.
Correct.
Yes, sis. Yes. So you carrying on the legacy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. That's amazing. You know, you've done so much and continue to do so much for so many, and you are a woman who has gone through the unimaginable. Your life truly took a turn in 2020. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
My mother is one of the strongest people I know. It wasn't necessarily because she was in love, but really again, she's looking for a way to escape the abuse. We unfortunately became homeless.
The doctor said we both almost died.
So I suffered. I suffered in silence.
From there on, she became my momager. We started traveling all over the world.
And nearly 8 years later, I'm sitting here as my mom's business partner.
Then we started something called Quartet Unstoppable.
If she says she's going to do it, she does it.
It seems like everything you touch tries to go.
Everybody that was raised around her is doing good in life.
I began to really admire and respect her.
I was instantly motivated.
I'm talking about a full-blown production, lights, camera, action.
I'm so thankful that Claudia and I crossed paths.
Claudia always go over and beyond.
But for someone who's been hurt so much, she only wants to help you.
My mom always finds a way to count everything joy.
All right, y'all. We are back with Miss Decembre Pierce. All right. So, Miss Decembre, 2020, your life took an unimaginable turn.
Did. Where actually it was a little before that. I was married to my kid's father. All three of my kids have the same father. I was married. He ended up getting on drugs really bad, became super abusive. I've had this ear bitten off. I've been stabbed in my chest, cut my hands open, burnt with cigarettes. And we ended up getting a divorce. Shortly thereafter, that's when I relocated to Murfreesboro, I relocated from Murfreesboro, North Carolina to Durham, North Carolina. I met a young man who was working at this apartment complex. He was the maintenance guy there. Super nice to me, very attractive. And we started dating eventually. At first, I was like, I'm not dating you. I don't want to date anybody. Like, I'm fresh out of a divorce. And my youngest child at the time was 11 months old. And he said, I really don't care that you have 3 kids. He had no children. He was like, you are attractive and I want to date you. And he was so persistent. Of course, every time I would call, the office because something broke down, he was the first one. I got her. I'm going to her apartment. And we ended up dating. Both of his parents were pastors, both of them. And by my mom being a pastor, it just clicked. It worked. He started helping me with my kids, picking them up from daycare for me, helping bringing groceries to the house, just being that man that I needed at that time. And we ended up eventually moving in together. And our parents were on us. Y'all, hold on, y'all got 3 kids. We was in our late 20s. Y'all got 3 kids. They kept saying, y'all have these 3 children and y'all living together. You need to get married. The pressure. We knew it was wrong, but we were good with it. Like I said, I had recently gotten divorced. I didn't want to be married again. I didn't want to, but we ended up getting married. We was together for 9 years. It was a good marriage, but then, irreconcilable differences. I really still have nothing negative to say about him. We did get a divorce, and he still continued to be a great father figure for my kids. But during my divorce, I was doing security for a church in Durham. And I was like second in command doing security. I met this pastor that was there at the time, this prophet.
And
And
if you would, let me just stop you right there real quick
okay,
because I want to put in this plug that you own your own security company now.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. All right now.
Protecting his security services.
All right.
So that's what I started. I started doing security for the church. And I met this pastor, and he started telling me about this mom camp he had, and I help a lot of single moms and whatever, whatever. He had reached out to me before when I was married. We were my ex-husband and I, my second husband and I, we were at this church, and that pastor was there, and they were miming his group, and he asked, could my son join then? Looking back now, my second husband, he said something just off. I don't know. I don't feel like he needs to be part of it. And my son at the time, he was my middle child. He was a dancer like Chris Brown, could dance his butt off. And so he ended up being with my son. My ex-husband said no, 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 no. But when I got a divorce, I ran into this pastor again doing security. And he was like, come on, he would be good. Look at all these boys that I help out. And I said, okay. Why not? My son could use another male figure. Plus, he was part of a big church, a really big church out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And so, and this is no offense to the other church, because I love the pastor of the other church. Now, I think she's amazing. And I can say it because it's all part of public knowledge.
Yes.
Pastor Shirley Caesar. I love her to death. And this pastor was part of her church.
Yes.
And so my son joined it. They were on tour a lot. They opened up for Fantasias, some other big gospel artists doing mime. He preached there as well. But I noticed he became too attached to my son, like super attached. He was always, when he would ask me, could he keep my son? And I'll tell him no. He would get upset. But why not? He's like the leader in my mind. He would just go on and on. And I became uncomfortable with it. We ended up relocating to Atlanta in 2014. And, when I came to Georgia, the pastor got mad with me. The pastor's name was Andre Thorpe. He got mad with me and said, why are you taking him to Georgia? Why can't you just leave him here in Durham with me? I was like, what?
Yeah.
Then I felt like something was wrong. And I asked my son repeatedly, has he ever tried to touch you? Has he said anything to you? My son kept saying, no, mama, no, mama, no, mama. But you have to understand, my son was a football player, a basketball player. He was a boy.
Mm-hmm. How old was your son at this time?
At this time, he was 14.
Okay.
We relocated to Georgia. And I said, this is a new start. We're away from this pastor. Mm-hmm. We came in December, January, February, March rolls around. My son was in fights almost every day. We was living in Lithia Springs. My earring fell. It's okay. But every day my son was fighting. He was arguing, very combative at home. He kept getting suspended. I was on the phone one day with my sister. I told her about it. He had just got suspended for the third time. My youngest daughter came in the room and said, Mama, PJ is gone. I said, what do you mean he's gone? Because I told him to go to his room. She said, I don't know. He said, I love you. And he walked out the door.
You were in Georgia.
I was in Georgia, in Lithia Springs. We went out looking everywhere for him. Could not find him in our neighborhood. It was like he just vanished. I was working at the time over in Austell as an executive director for this company. And yeah, I lost it. I mean, he was gone. We had no idea where he was. March, his birthday is April the 6th. He turned 15. I was not with my son. He was gone.
Goodness.
April, May, June, July. He was enlisted with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, all of these other organizations. July rolls around. And my other daughter was turning 16, my oldest daughter. They were a year apart. We were in Durham because that's where she grew up at. All of her friends were. She wanted to have a birthday party. And she was like, Mama, I still have to have a regular life too. I mean, I know my brother's been gone for 5 months, but Mama, what about me? And I started feeling bad because I was going through a lot of depression and my kids were feeling it. So I agreed to give her a birthday party. We were in Durham. We get a phone call, and it's my son. Because we had put out flyers like a couple of days prior to that all over Durham, Raleigh area. And the only reason why we did that there is because that's where that pastor, we knew he was from that area. While we're getting ready for the birthday party, my son's call. He calls my daughter's phone, her cell phone. And she wanted to bring it to me. And he's crying, Mama, I heard you put these flyers out. Where are you at? And he's just like bawling his eyes out. And he said, Mama, you're going to get killed. I'm telling you, Mama. I just got beat because they saw your flyers. And I asked him, who? He was like, Mama, you don't understand. I told him where we were, where this party was. I told him if he could find a way to get there, baby, please come there. I said, did he know where he was? He said he had no idea. He didn't know the address. I said, well, if you can find a way to get to this address, this is where we're going to be. I had already called the FBI that we were working with. I had already called the police department in Durham to let them know that we had found him. He ended up showing up. We had a photographer there. They captured the whole moment.
Oh my God.
My son, like I said, was a football player and a basketball player. When he showed up, I think he weighed less than 90 pounds. He was so little.
Oh my God.
We got him into the car. He was shaking. We got him into the car. I had the girls in my car. My best friend put my son in her car. My kids were scared. I called the police and said, he's here. They told us where to go to. When we pulled up, police were everywhere.
So how did your son get there?
Or how he get to where we were?
Yeah.
He said he was able to get out. He was able to escape when he went to the store when Andre had him. Andre went to the store. He was able to get out, and he knew the area. Because like I said, we were from Durham, so he knew that area. And but when the police got him, they wouldn't allow me to bring him back to Georgia because he was listed as a missing child. So they had to have the U.S. Marshals to bring him back. And that was devastating for him and me to leave him again. He was crying, don't leave me, Mama. So let's fast forward. We get him back. He didn't want us to press charges because he was devastated about what happened to him. My son didn't. That was my biggest mistake. We did get a restraining order. That was my hugest mistake because when we got him back, not even a couple of months, they put an ankle monitor on my son to keep up with him, to make sure that he was where he was. Not even a couple of weeks later, Andre, because he was not arrested, he came and kidnapped my son again.
Oh my God.
This time my son was gone for about 3 months. The FBI found him. They found my son in North Carolina. He was actually getting ready to take him to a D.C., Maryland area when the FBI got a hold of the police and the FBI got back involved. And when we got him back, Andre had tattooed his initials on my son's neck and his name on his arm. The pastor did. He had molested my son, trafficked my son. He had all types of drugs in his system. It was devastating. And because of that, my son, we did press charges then. I was done. He ended up getting 40 years in prison. And because of that, it became a big part of the news, and it was all of it because he was a pastor and he was part of a mega church, and he was also a leader in the Boys and Girls Club. So they took down all these other leaders in the Boys and Girls Club that were kidnapping kids, trafficking kids, molesting kids. I'm talking about hundreds of leaders.
Jesus.
And during that time, my son felt like everybody was talking about it at his school. He joined the Bloods because he wanted to prove that he was hard, that this was not his life, this wasn't him. When he realized the Bloods with the Bloods, that Georgia Bloods are the Bloods, he saw a lot of his friends get killed. He never did any, like, robbing people, did anything like that, but he did steal a car one time. They sent him on a high-speed chase. He wrecked the car. At the time, he had met a young lady who was in school for nursing. They had just had a baby. It was November 2020. He came to the house. He tried to get out of the gang. He got jumped and beat really bad. November 2020 came around. His daughter was a year old. He came in my room and cried and told me he wanted out of the gang. He wanted to be the son I wanted him to be. He wanted to change his life. See, I'm not going to apologize for crying, y'all. This is life. And that's what the shirt is about, saving Isaiah. Isaiah was my son's middle name. And because of that, he wanted out. I told him I'd do whatever it takes. I got you, baby. We in this together. You made this decision because of your life, what happened to you, and now you want to be different. And because of that, that was Thanksgiving 2020. He was murdered December the 1st. He was set up by another gang member. They knew he wanted out, which was actually his best friend, someone he called his brother. He spent the night with him. My son spent the night with him the night before. The very next day, he lured my son to the woods of Griffin, Georgia, and he shot him in the back of the head, in the legs, in the chest, and he left him there for 8 days. The police found him.
I am so sorry. So sorry.
So now I work with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I'm an independent consultant. I speak on this. I help people who are in gangs because of different trauma, childhood trauma, and other mothers kids who've been kidnapped and trafficked.
Wow. Very emotional, y'all. I'm trying to get that's because to lose a child,
Correct. To bury your own child.
bury your own child, to witness everything that your son went through, and you stand here strong today and helping other families reclaim or reclaiming, because I know you haven't reclaimed, you're reclaiming. But I thank God for your perseverance, for your resilience. I thank God for you being an advocate to help others. You know, what could you tell some our viewers today to look out for when it comes to, I always tell my children, don't trust anyone. It could be your father, it could be your pastor, it could be my brother. I was sexually molested by my uncle, so therefore I have no trust. You know,
I always tell people, one, stop treating your children like they're adults. God placed your kids in your care. And I think that we want our teenagers to be teenagers, and we let them go in a room, they shut the door, they're on their phone, their laptop, their gaming system, their consoles, all of that. We don't check their phones, we don't even check their friends, and I was guilty of all of that because I was a single mom and I worked. I was guilty of that. I worked double time, overtime. But put Life 3, biggest thing, everybody, I tell you, put Life 360 on your phone, your husband's phone, your wife's phone, your children's phone. We have that now. My youngest daughter now, she's 21. My other daughter's 27. I have it. My best friend who's in the audience, she has it, and we track each other.
yes.
Put Life 360, so you always know where each other are at all times, because anything can happen.
Yes. December, thank you so much. Thank you for being here today on Reclaiming My Life. Thank you for sharing this testimony. I tell you, you're a blessing. And I want to just say, to the parents, and thank you for saying, I wasn't doing that, because I talk about all the time, spending time with your children. A lot of times as adults, we feel like, I'm feeding them, I'm taking them somewhere, I'm buying them something. But, we have to be very active, like December said, check the phones. Being in the house with your child is not spending time with your child. Talk with them every day. See what's going on. See who they're talking to. What's going on in their life. Every day you should be sitting down, having that conversation with your children.
And can I say this really quick?
Yes.
Even as, and I know we are running out of time. Even as people who are Christians, I think that sometimes we got to remember that there are also wolves in sheep clothing.
Yes.
I think that I was guilty, and I can definitely say that we look at people because they have these titles, and we think that they can do no harm. We think that they won't hurt our children. They won't hurt us.
Yes.
We have to be very cautious of that. And I'm not saying walk on pins and needles.
Yes.
But I'm saying just keep your eyes open. I would say, wow, you got this one eye closed, keep this one open.
Yes.
Okay, just
Absolutely.
always.
Absolutely.
If you feel something is not right, 9 times out of 10, it is not right.
Yes, absolutely. Trust your gut. And look, and let me tell you, y'all, whatever you are going through, whatever challenges you are experiencing today, whatever trauma that you have experienced, we are praying for you that you too can reclaim your life.